Goals do not make you financially free. Systems do. Goals are just the target for you, and systems are the machine that allows you to actually hit that target. That's what we're going to be going over in today's live training. So, this is a two-part training where part one is going to be focused on the overall process of goal setting and systems thinking, systems training overall. And then part two is going to be specifically what are the three core systems that you need to learn, implement, and execute consistently to actually achieve financial freedom through real estate. Today, what we're going to really focus on is the overall goals and systems creation process and understanding the three key real estate systems so that you can hit the ground running for the next training and hit the ground running to achieve your financial freedom goals in 2026. So by the end of this call, my goal is that you will understand the exact 5 steps to actually hit your financial freedom goals in 2026. What you'll also see is how I have personally used these steps to go from 0 rentals to over 200 doors in less than 5 years. In 2020, my 5-year plan was very simple. I wanted 5 properties, right? 1 property a year through house hacking. I was going to buy a property that was 1 or 2 to 4 units, live in 1 unit, rent out the others. So 5 properties, 1 every single year, would total 15 total units in 5 years and generate me $7,500 a month of cash flow. That was my dream. If I could have achieved that in starting in 2020, that was my goal. That was my process. 5 properties, 1 a year, generate me $7,500 a month of cash flow by the end of year 5, never have to work again a single day in my life. What I did not expect was that by the 5-year mark, now in 2025, I've already crossed over 100 units, nearing 200 plus rental units because of the systems that I built and executing those things. So the real thing I want you to understand is that you're going to have a goal. You're going to clearly define a goal, but then you're also going to iterate and improve your goal because you're going to continue learning and executing more and more things. You're going to learn more, do more, learn more, right? Through your experience, through other people, through connections, and then you're going to improve and fast track your path. But I needed to have my clear goal of 5 properties, 1 a year. This is how I was going to do it. This is what I was going to achieve. These were the numbers. And this is what I want to help you do as much as possible today so that we can actually implement the right systems in your real estate business that will allow you to achieve the scalability and success that you're looking for in the time frame that you're looking for. That's a big one. That's a big reason why my path has shifted so much, because my original path for real estate didn't really come about as a path for real estate. It was truly, how can I become financially free? And for me, it just means, how could I make more money each and every month than I need to spend so that I never have to work for someone else? Does that mean I was going to stop working? No, I'm definitely a worker bee. I like to work, but I like to work on things I care about. I like to work on the timelines. I like to work on them, right? When I want to work, for how long I want to work on that, with the people I want to work with. For me, it's controlling what I work on and when I work on it and with who I'm working on it with, I guess. My goal wasn't to retire early and never work again. My goal is to have more money coming in every month than we spend. So I never was a slave to money. There's a phrase which is basically, money is a horrible master. You do not want money to be your master. But the thing on top of that, like the next level of that is, but money is an essential tool for you to be able to live the lifestyle that you want without ever having to work for someone else, right? Like, well, actually, let's even scratch that. It's not even about financial freedom. Money is a necessity to do anything you want in life. That's just the reality of it. That's the world that we live in today. You're not hunting and foraging for your food and all that. We are doing work, receiving money for it, and then you are using that money to buy the things that you want or live the life that you want. Without money, you cannot achieve literally anything that you want in life, unfortunately, unless you have a very, 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 like, I don't even know. It's such an extreme example of who could live the life that they want with literally no money at all. It's just not realistic. So it's never been about money as my master. Money is the main driver for me. It's always been about, how can I earn enough and then have it consistently come in so that I never have to work again for someone else. I always work for myself and I'll work on the things that I care about. I think a lot of people that I talk to, this is not an issue. They actually want to continue working, which is why I've still not chosen to retire. But I work on the timelines that I choose to work on, and I balance my day with the amount of family time and working on the things that I care about to actually achieve those goals. So with that being said, most people will not achieve their goals because they might have an arbitrary goal or they're trying to copy someone else's goal. They're really aiming without really defining why are they even aiming for this goal, nor do they have the systems in place to actually execute on those goals. I don't know the specific quote. I'm like the worst with quotes, but basically the concept is that you do not rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. Goals are, hey, I want to have 10 properties. Systems are, what is my exact process for buying deals to then be able to stack enough properties to then achieve this goal of 10 properties owned? And I'm even go dive deeper into why a lot of people set very arbitrary goals and how you could be head and shoulder above the majority, because you're going to set more clear goals that are actually in alignment with what you want to do, what you want your life to look like, not just someone said, I want $100,000 a month of cash flow. Great. You want $1.2 million of cash flow every month. I want that for you. But let's actually tether your goals to reality, make it realistic, not a realistic number, but realistic based on your actual expenses or the lifestyle that you want to live. And then let's create the systems to allow you to not just do the deals, but then scale as much as possible. That is why with my goal and my systems to buy 5 deals in 5 years, that's why I was able to surpass that, like insanely so, because I built the right systems that were scalable, that allowed me to achieve the financial freedom that I wanted to in a much quicker time frame that I wanted to. I achieved my 5-year goal in 13 months because of the systems, but then I've scaled and grown that so massively because of those same systems that I continue implementing, and I continue growing and scaling as much as I desire to, right? And it becomes easier and easier throughout this journey. That's a big part of the systems as well. When you're starting out, you're just figuring it all out. That's why I share so much of this stuff with you guys, because 5 years ago, I literally owned 0 real estate. 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was my path to financial freedom was not, I was going to own real estate and become financially free through cash flow and build wealth through appreciation and debt paid out. Like, that was not even on my radar. Let's say 10 years ago, because I was in college and studying, my goal was to become a doctor. My original goal was to earn a bunch of money and somehow that'd make me financially free. I was just going to earn a lot and then become financially free and have more money coming in each month that I need to spend. Well, then I started learning about the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early movement. And the idea was earn as much as you can, as quickly as you can, save the majority of it, invest it in stocks, and over a long enough period of time, that would allow you to grow that portfolio to a couple $1,000,000. You could pull a certain amount of that every single year, 4% of that every year, and be able to retire. That was great. But what that required me to do is shift from the doctor mindset to earning a lot after 10 years of education to earning as much as I possibly could through the route of engineering, which is why I shifted to engineering. Then with the stock market investing, great. I wanted to do this, but the math was there to get me financially free, but the timeline was not in alignment with what I wanted to do. It was going to take me decades of saving and investing a vast majority of my income to be able to be financially free at 60 plus years old. I didn't want that timeline. I wanted all of this done faster, and I wanted to work harder in a shorter period of time to achieve those results, which is why I decided, okay, stock investing is great. It's the path for the vast majority of people who do not want to work harder, who do not want to take control of their investing, who are open to the markets and inflation and the president and the Fed chair and tariffs and what all these other things to dictate how the timeline for their financial freedom, because it's dependent on the returns on the stock market. Well, I didn't want that much control in someone else's hands. I wanted the control and I wanted to do it faster, which is why I pivoted to real estate investing. I mean, that's really what it was. Real estate was the thing that made the most sense to me because I learned from the doctoral engineering route, it was not active income that would allow me to get financially free. And the stock market was a great path to do so for the majority who wanted to be as passive as possible if they were willing to save and invest for a long enough period of time. But that wasn't my plan. I wanted to get there as quickly and efficiently as possible. And real estate allowed me to have that level of control and a reliable process and path that would allow me to basically do this. Like, I knew what I could do. There was like steps behind it. And I'm going to break that down because the very first thing I had to do then was reverse engineer what financial freedom through real estate looked like. Like I said, for stocks, you earn money, you save a lot of it, you invest it, and then it compounds and grows over decades. And then you eventually have a couple $1,000,000 that you can pull 4% from. That's a fine path for people who want to do that. That definitely was not my path. The majority of you, if not all of you watching this, either A, you're realizing that definitely isn't the path you want, or B, you've already committed that there's no way in hell that you're going to be doing this for 40 plus years to then be able to spend $30,000 a year at that point. when you're retired. No, I want to enjoy my entire life. And that meant becoming financially free as quickly and effectively as possible, the reliable path. What I do want to clarify for you is that some people become financially free through creating a business or a startup, or they invested in Bitcoin 10 years ago, or they they bought Dogecoin at the right time, or Nvidia, or whatever, right? There's these one-off examples of people who have gotten insanely wealthy through a lucky investment. The reason why I never cared for stuff like that, not to say I don't invest in little things like that, the reason why I never dedicated my path to financial freedom based on strategies like that, because those get rich quick schemes tend to result in far more people that lose money than actually earn money. And those that earn money through that have a very hard time. It's not repeatable. I can't just say, oh, someone bought Bitcoin 10 years ago. I wish I can go back 10 years and buy Bitcoin when it was a couple $100 versus $100,000, right? Like, you can't repeat that. That's where stock market is great, because it happens. Like, it literally, just look over the last 100 years, that consistently will grow. But more importantly, real estate is much more proven, and over a longer period of time, properties appreciate, rent increases, your debt's getting paid down. The maths, it all makes logical sense. There's so many examples of so many wealthy people that have done so through real estate. And it's something I can define a process and system for that was more than just earn money, save it, invest it. It was investing in the right assets and we'll get more into that. So once I chose real estate, it was really, how do I become financially free? And that was reverse engineering my financial freedom path to real estate. If you've watched any of my trainings, please feel free to take advantage of all the free trainings I give away in my free Wealth Through Real Estate community. I believe there's a link below this video right now. But basically, the great part about real estate is it just makes a lot of mathematical sense. There's systems and there's math that clearly lay out the path. It doesn't mean that everything is going to be simple and easy to do, but there is a path, and it's really not as complicated as everyone else tries to make it seem. I think people do so. A lot of these educators and gurus do so. They make it seem extremely difficult and hard and all these extra words and like it's like, great. I think they're just doing that to make it more difficult to feel the need to sell you something. And I'm not saying I don't coach. I coach. I have my CoLiving community. I have my super investors to help real estate investors scale. I have my own offers. However, I think the majority of this information, the reason why I give so much of this stuff away that people charge thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars for, is I think I want to just completely change the entire landscape of those who are willing to put in the work to actually achieve the success they want through real estate. The main thing is, I'm not worried about competition. I'm not worried about other people. I want to help as many people do so as possible. The majority of what I do is completely for free. Just check out all the free courses and tools and resources I provide on YouTube and my Wealth Through Real Estate community. But I'm doing all that to help you guys. I want you guys to achieve massive success in your investing journeys. There's no fear of competition or anything like that, honestly, because most people, don't have clear goals. Then they don't have the clear systems to achieve those goals. And then once they have the systems, they're not willing to execute long enough to achieve the results. So I think humans themselves, for the vast majority of people, won't do it anyway. For those of you that are willing to learn, invest, take action, I want you to succeed. And I want you to know everything that I wish I knew 5 years ago when I started out. The last couple of years, I continue to grow and scale. That's why I put so much of this stuff out there. This is why what took me a long time was to really figure out, well, what is the path to financial freedom through real estate? I give a ton of trainings on that, but basically, very simply, is you need to generate cash flow in your properties. I need properties that are generating me cash flow. They make me more money each and every month than I am spending on that property, right? I am profiting money at the end of each month than I am spending on that investment. That's the simplest way to define cash flow. Once you have enough of that stacked, let's say $1,000 a property, you have enough of those stacked, 10 properties, $1,000 each, $10,000. If your spending is less than $10,000, you are financially free through real estate. So very simply, what do you need to be financially free through real estate? You need to own cash flowing assets, properties that generate you more money than you spend every month. Great. To buy cash flowing assets, what do you need to do? Well, if I want to own those assets, generate cash flow, I need to actually own those assets, which means I need to close on investment properties, be the buyer, be the owner of those properties. To do that, that means I need to put properties under contract, right? You cannot buy and own something unless you put it under contract. In the middle of that is you need to do your due diligence and fund the investment so you can actually close on it and own it, right? So cash flowing assets is the end goal, and stacking a bunch of those. You need to close on those assets. You need to fund those investments so you can actually buy those deals, whether it's debt, other people's money, your money, whatever it is. You need to put those properties under contract. To put them under contract, you need to have deals that are worth putting under contract, right? You need to be able to analyze and determine which deals should you put under contract. And to put deals under contract, you need to analyze them and then put offers out there, which then means to put offers out on deals that you've analyzed, you're gonna be looking at investments. So if I just was to summarize that very simply, you need to own and operate high cash flowing assets by funding them and closing on them. And then to know what properties you should fund and close, you need to know how to find, analyze, and put deals under contract. You put them under contract, you fund and close them, and then you operate them successfully. When I broke it down into kind of those steps, it became very easy in a sense, because to own an asset, I need to go through this process every single time. There's going to be lots of variation every time, but this is the process I need to follow every single time to then be able to buy a high cash flowing asset that then generates me enough cash flow collectively to become financially free, right? Maybe I didn't explain that very well, but you need to have deals, money, and the operations to have cash flowing assets that allow you to become financially free by generating you cash flow. So I mapped this entire thing out when I was starting out to the best of my ability. At that point, I didn't have connections. I didn't have network. I was reading books and podcasts and all that stuff. I was piecing it together. But when you take a step back, it's very easy, in my opinion, it's very easy to just kind of think through these steps, and it makes a lot of logical sense. The problem is people are constantly distracting you, shiny objects. There is so much noise and so much fluff out there. It is completely making the journey to financial freedom through real estate more difficult than it needs to be. I'm not saying it's very easy. You're going to have to learn, you have to invest, you're going to have to get mentorship, guidance, connections, all that good stuff. However, the process in itself is very simple. You're just leveraging education and mentorship to just improve the process, make it easier, learn from other people's mistakes, and then plug and play other people's systems if you choose to, right? I didn't for the longest time until I started really scaling and joined the Sub 2 community with my mentor, Pace Morby. So with that being said, you're going to need 5 steps, right? And now we're going to integrate into actually goal setting for financial freedom through real estate, right? Or just in general. Like, it really doesn't matter how you implement this, but obviously for me, my goal is to help you be financially free, ideally by the end of 2026. If it takes longer, so what? I'm not the type of person that defines my results based on timelines as much, right? It's part of my SMART goals, but in reality, I'm focused more on what actions do I need to do? Am I implementing them? And am I getting the results that I want? Less so on how long is it taking me to do so. So I shared with you my journey to an extent so you can understand what really shifted for me so that you can execute it for yourself in the 5 steps that you're going to need in essence. And then we'll talk about the 3 systems you're going to need for real estate, but the 5 steps that you're going to need and the tools and resources I have for you to be able to do so are: step 1, you need to choose a very clear 5-year target. I need you to choose a destination, not a fantasy. Like, I need you to choose a very specific target with real numbers and ideally a somewhat realistic timeline. You don't want to waste too much of your time trying to pursue things that don't actually make a lot of logical sense. And for me, it's like, how are you going to know what that is? Well, it's really going to depend on you. I do know that a lot of people, they tell you to choose your 5-year target. Let's just say a 5-year target. A lot of people just copy other people's goals, other people's targets. For example, I'm going to have $100,000 of cash flow every single month, or I'm going to own 1,000 rental units. Or like, that's one phase of it where I think people go wrong. They have these like random goals that are not in alignment with what they actually want. What is the lifestyle that they want to be living? And then other people will tell you have to get so clear on this goal, when in reality, for me in particular, it's very hard. I don't know if you've heard someone say, if you want to achieve this goal, it's very imperative for you that you can clearly, like, you close your eyes and clearly define what is the exact house that you want. What's the paint color? What about the car in the driveway? What is the car? How many do you have? Do you have a pool in the back? Do you have animals? Are you by water? That shit is so hard for me. Like, I'm not here to say, just copy someone else's goals like a lot of people do, especially these unrealistic goals of people who have not actually achieved the results that you want. They just are saying goals that they heard or sound fancy or nice, like 100 properties or whatever. Or I'm not telling you to get so crystal clear on a vision where you have to like perfectly know where you're going to live, the house and all that stuff, because I don't want to copy people who haven't done the thing the way that I wanted to. Like, I'm not copying someone who has not even done the thing that they're talking about, right? but also you don't need to have such a crystal clear vision of exactly what you want. In my opinion, there's a great balance in between, which was for me, tether it to a financial goal. If you want to live a life like, hey, this is the state that I want to live in. Let's say you currently spend $5,000 a month, but so you're going to need $5,000 a month to come in from your portfolio to be financially free. Great. That's a great starting target, not a random 100,000 or whatever. Or if you say, hey, this is a great lifestyle right now at 5,000 a month, but I know that I want to have a bigger house, more cars. That's going to cost me an extra $10,000 a month. Plus I want an extra $10,000 a month for travel and leisure and eating out. Great. So you're 5,000 plus the 10,000 for the house and car, plus the 10,000 for travel and all that extra fluff. Great. Now you have a $25,000 target, right? You want $25,000 a monthly cash flow by the end of 5 years. So you never have to work again for someone else. You can live your existing lifestyle and then live it at a much higher, more beautiful version of it at that point at $25,000, right? 5 times more than you're currently spending. Great. For me, that's good enough. Maybe that's me as an engineer, science-minded over an artsy visual person. But for me, that's how I set my goal. How much do I need to replicate my income so I know I can cover all my expenses? And then what would my ideal life look like? I mentioned my goal was $7,500 a month in cash flow when I started out. We were spending around $5,000 at the time, living in Alaska. And then if you count for house hacking, it was even less than that. But $5,000 was close to the expenses. $7,500 was even more than I was. And then I wanted $20,000 as my crazy goal. Like, this is the thing that I don't even know what I would spend $250,000 a year tax-free on, but that's my crazier goal that I want in the end of 5 years. Okay. Hopefully that provides you some guidance, because I know a lot of people get extremely stuck in regards to, I don't have a crystal clear vision and I'm just pursuing other people's goals. Tether it to your own goals.